Let me ask you just a few concrete. So this is going to be hard.
Yeah, no.
Concrete.
I like it.
Okay. First example. I am a 60-year-old woman and my husband just left me.
Yeah.
Told me about it last week.
Mm.
I'm not working. My children are out of the house. What do I do this week that gets me on a road so I'm going to enjoy my midlife?
Well, let's start by helping this woman and anyone increase their TQ, what a trademark term from MEA, which speaks to transitional intelligence. So if you look at the history of time, whether it's Joseph Campbell or it's the wisdom traditions or it's William Bridges in his book Transitions, they all have the same mentality around and the framework for thinking about transitions. There's 3 stages to any transition: the ending of something, the messy middle, and the beginning of something. And so what I would say to this 60-year-old woman is, you are coming to the end of something. And the most important thing to do when you're ending anything is to ritualize it and mark it so that you can say, okay, that was the past. Now, if this just happened a week ago and she's still in trauma around that, the last thing she wants to do is do a ritual. But the first thing I would do for her is to say, like, who can you talk to? Who are the friends you can talk to who can be supportive? But at some point, you want to do something that says, like, that's over. Because then you move into the messy middle, the chrysalis, in essence. Between caterpillar and butterfly is chrysalis. And it's in that stage that you start to actually see what's next. Yes, messy middle means it's a little hard.
What goes on in the messy middle?
Messy middle, a person often is in an awkward space. You've lost your job, you've retired, you've just gotten a cancer diagnosis, your husband's just left you. You're in this place that's not familiar. So there's a word called—
You just have to sit through it? Or
No, you're liminal. You're liminal, which means you're in between 2 things. But you need to, number one is start to actually get some social support. That helps because a lot of times when you're in that liminal state in transition, you feel scared. And you feel awkward, and maybe you feel like somehow shameful or guilty because something wrong happened. The other thing you need to do is look for the through line. Look at, like, what are you supposed to learn from this? Because our painful life lessons are the raw material for our future wisdom. And so what does that mean? It means that the experience you've had, in this case, this woman, who she's been with her husband for many years, but she probably wasn't all that surprised that he was leaving, or she wasn't all that happy. In fact, 70% of the gray divorces, people getting divorced after 50, are being initiated by women. Mm-hmm. Bottom line is, she is going to have a new pair of glasses when she goes into the marketplace again to actually meet a new partner. And so the reality is, she's going to be a better judge of character than she was when she met her husband. And so that's part of what she has to start thinking through is, like, what are the filters, assuming that she wants to be in a relationship again? The thing I would say to her if she was a friend of mine is, like, what are the things that you've always wanted to do, you didn't have time to do, or your husband dissuaded you from doing, that you can do now that you have some freedom? Because the first thing for her is not to go find another man. The first thing for her, or a woman, I mean, like, who knows?
Yeah.
The first thing to do is literally to go and say, I have some freedom and space. How do I want to spend that?
I like that.
And then I'd go to the third stage, which is the beginning of something new. Ending, messy middle, beginning. And the beginning of something new is, frankly, when she's going to potentially go out and start dating again. And the most important thing you can do in that stage is to have a growth mindset and a sense of humor. Because if you are going to be self-critical and tough on yourself as you go out and make
That's no fun.
your Match.com profile, or you have your first date that you've had in 30 years with somebody, or the first time you're actually getting naked with a man in all of these years, you better have a sense of humor. Otherwise, you're going to pretty much be critical. And the more critical we are, the more self-defeating it is, because we end up tending to have a fixed mindset, which means fixed mindset means you're trying to prove yourself and you want to win. A growth mindset means you want to improve yourself and you want to learn. And so that's what I would do. That's the technical way we look at it in the TQ method of transitions. But I would, of course, try to really spend more time with her and understand her specific situation.
Yeah, well, very few people are going to have the privilege of doing a one-on-one with Chip Conley. But just to bottom line it a little bit, because you said a lot, there's a lot to remember.
Yeah.
But what I heard was the first thing you want to do is to take stock of your friends.
Yeah.
And probably identify the ones who will listen to you. A second thing was a sort of a process of self-assessment. Is there a book?
Actually, the second thing I do with the friend is to somehow ritualize this. So what I would do is I would say, how could you go through some kind of process? Maybe you write down all of the things on a piece of paper that pissed you off about your husband.
I like this.
I hate my husband because, and you write all of this down, and what you do is then you, with your friend, say, I'm going to write all those things down. I'm going to recite what those are to my friend. I'm going to throw them in the fire. And then I'm going to say, I'm replacing it with the following. These are the things I am going to get as a result of actually being out of this marriage. And that ritualization of it is really powerful because you remember the day and the time when you did this thing. We do that at MEA.
Yeah,
if you
I
recall,
remember.
the very first 24 hours into it, we are throwing something on a piece of paper and ultimately throwing it in the fire collectively. So that is important because what it helps a person do is to move on. And one other thing, transitions, Bruce Feiler, who wrote a book called Life is in the Transitions, a New York Times bestseller, has shown in his research that people can spend 5 years in that chrysalis on average. They're going through a transition and it can take a long time.
Yeah.
The value of a program like MEA or any kind of coaching or therapy or whatever it is it can accelerate your time in that messy middle. So you're not spending as much time there. You're not feeling stuck or bewildered as much as you would otherwise.
All right, if you're looking for your next actionable step to stop wishing and start doing, go ahead and click the video on your screen right now. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button so you can keep getting the practical advice you need to live longer and better. Be a huge favor to me. And we'll see you in the next episode. I guarantee you'll like it even better than the one you just saw.